When I woke up, they told me I was the Wilson family's biological daughter switched at birth. But there was already a girl they'd raised for over a decade in my place. The family expected me to wallow in self-pity, seethe with jealousy, and drown in resentment over fate's cruelty. Yet all I saw was this glorious new era: no wars, no famine, no constant fear of death. To me, this was paradise. My head throbbed like it might split open as consciousness returned. Strange memories flooded my mind, leaving me momentarily adrift. For one terrifying second, I didn't know who or where I was. When the mental storm subsided, I found myself in an unfamiliar yet familiar world. A surreal disconnect washing over me. Voices carried through the door. Think she's faking? Finn's voice sneered. Probably hurt herself to make everyone feel sorry for her and blame Sylvia. Aaron. You know Sylvia's the real sister here. Finn. Aaron interrupted. This is Wilson family business. Stay in your lane. Sylvia's my fiancée. Of course I'll defend her. Finn persisted. I don't care where this other girl came from. Aaron. The Harris family only recognizes Sylvia. Their voices faded as I stared at the sterile white ceiling, piecing together my identity. Zoe Wilson. That's who I was now. I remembered the bullet tearing through my chest in another life. The choking desperation of my final moments. Yet here I breathed in this young, unmarked body, hands calloused from menial labor rather than combat. The door swung open to reveal the speakers, a handsome young man and a scowling teenager. Zoe? You're awake. Aaron approached. I studied them silently, fragmented memories clicking into place. This man expected me to call him brother. Finn snapped first. How long are you gonna keep this act up? I remained quiet until Aaron summoned doctors. White-coated specialists diagnosed temporary amnesia after their examination. When Finn left, Aaron sat by my bed. I'm Aaron. Your brother. The doctors say your memory should return gradually. He explained how the real Zoe Wilson had been switched at birth, raised in poverty until tracking down her biological family last year. The current drama involved Sylvia Wilson, the polished heiress who'd occupied my place. My hospital visit resulted from a stairway confrontation where Sylvia allegedly pushed me. According to these new memories, the original Zoe had been consumed by bitterness over Sylvia's grace, talent, and engagement to Finn Harris. Where are Mom and Dad? I asked finally. Aaron hesitated. Sylvia's piano competition required their attendance today, along with Finn. They'll visit tonight, he said. The unspoken truth hung heavy even now. The replacement daughter commanded their priority. I fell silent. Aaron said, Zoe, both you and Sylvia are my sisters. Though your suffering stems from her biological mother, Sylvia truly knew nothing. Her birth mother passed away years ago. Our parents drafted a contract granting you 5% of the company's shares as compensation. Though internally unfazed, I couldn't help feeling sorrow for the girl who'd shared this name, Zoe. The family she desperately sought offered such limited affection. Wherever she was now, alive or not, inheriting her memories felt inherently strange. Do you own 5% too? I met Aaron's gaze. He hesitated. I pressed on. Sylvia must have some too. Maybe 3%? Have you remembered? I hummed affirmation. Where's my phone? Aaron handed me the rectangular device I'd seen in Zoe's memories. I need time alone. After he left the hospital room, I unlocked the phone and began researching. Decades had passed. My original era had fossilized into history. My nation had weathered storms to emerge as an unshakable global presence. No invasions, no wars, no food shortages. This golden age exceeded my wildest dreams. Scrolling through news articles, tears streamed down my face. The utopia I'd only dared imagine in secret now pulsed vibrantly on screen. Though carrying Zoe's memories, this world remained alien yet fascinating. When the Wilson parents arrived with Sylvia trailing behind in her couture gown, the body's residual emotions surged, bitter longing for unconditional acceptance. Zoe. Mrs. Olivia began. How are you feeling? Fine. I answered truthfully. Unlike their biological daughter, I felt no need to perform expected roles. My abrupt personality shift would likely be attributed to trauma. Mr. Edward eyed my bandages with performative sternness. This ends here. Another stunt and we'll cut you off. The comparison to my scholarly father from another lifetime was stark. I merely nodded. Sylvia lingered at the doorway, our eyes meeting in silent combat. Her gaze held contempt veiling insecurity, the usurper perpetually uneasy about her stolen nest. Post-discharge days blurred with internet immersion. This World Wide Web marvel eclipsed even penicillin's brilliance. Historical archives confirmed my suspicion, no records mentioned my original existence. I'd dissolved into history's sediment. The Wilson mansion's gilded halls felt impersonal. Aaron drove me home to a marble-clad mausoleum where Sylvia's laughter echoed through crystal chandeliers. Her couture wardrobe outshone Zoe's practical sweaters. Yet watching sunrise through floor-to-ceiling windows, I smiled. However transient, this borrowed life in peacetime was gift enough. The girl whose memories I carried might never know this peace. But through me, she'd finally witness spring blossoms without air raid sirens. He said, Dad is away on a business trip today. And Mom has plans with friends. You should rest well today since school starts tomorrow. Even with weak foundations, you need to work hard to catch up. The fact that no family members came to welcome me home from the hospital really doesn't feel like how a family should behave. Aaron's words seemed to imply one thing: the Wilson family only values presentable members. This dynamic reminds me of a friend's prominent family where women were groomed to be refined ladies and men cultivated as cultured gentlemen, on the surface. But such aristocratic families often hide rot beneath their gilded facades. Zoe had only been back for less than a year when the Wilsons enrolled her in a new high school as a freshman. The current education system differs significantly from what I remember, with numerous subjects available. According to her memories, Zoe had chosen humanities-focused electives after completing one semester. Returning to her room, I thoroughly examined her textbooks. The next morning, the chauffeur drove me to school. Though Sylvia and I attend the same institution, she's in the elite class, consistently top-ranked, creating stark contrast against Zoe's mediocre performance. Even our transportation arrangements differ despite sharing the same destination. Entering my classroom, I noticed the noisy room briefly hush. Zoe never commanded such attention before. Her current status as the Wilsons' publicly acknowledged adopted child creates awkwardness, while Sylvia remains engaged to Finn, who only recognizes her. The Harris family's stance remains ambiguous. Should Sylvia's true origins surface, the Harrises might reject her but would never accept Zoe either. Thus, the Wilsons prioritize preserving the engagement for its financial benefits. Their indifference toward their biological daughter laid bare. Zoe yearned for familial affection, but this house offers none. My presence here feels increasingly alien. This private school caters to affluent families, the Wilsons being among the elite. As the adopted daughter, I'm naturally gossip fodder. After missing days of classes due to hospitalization, I wonder what rumors circulate. Lowering my gaze to the desk, I studied Zoe's handwriting, not particularly elegant, but I'll need to mimic it temporarily. Zoe. A voice interrupted as shadow fell across my desk. Heard you were hospitalized? Looking up, I saw a red-haired teenager. My expression shifted from surprise to poorly concealed distaste. This garish style was utterly unappealing. I recognized him as Liam, a wealthy admirer of Sylvia's. Something wrong? I knew the original Zoe barely interacted with him. Rumor says you tried pushing Sylvia down the stairs but fell yourself? Or maybe staged the fall deliberately? He blurted without considering how crushing such accusations might be to the real Zoe. Meeting his gaze, I smirked. Yes. After losing an argument, I thought diving headfirst downstairs would frame her perfectly. Your point? My response stunned Liam and onlookers alike. He stammered. How dare a mere adopted? Adopted? I leaned back, eyeing his crimson locks scornfully. What standing do you have to defend Sylvia's honor? Teenagers this age, ever eager to play white knight yet fragile in pride. Combust easily. Predictably. He reddened. You asking to die? The teacher entered before he could continue. After scanning the room, she sent Liam scowling back to his seat. During lessons, I repeatedly flipped through history textbooks containing familiar events and unimaginable future developments. Compared to the well-worn humanities books, the pristine science volumes revealed Zoe's academic imbalance. While her memories provide information, this society's complexities far exceed what she, or I, could have imagined. For an entire week, I immersed myself in knowledge. The indifference from those around me became painfully clear. From Zoe's memories, I found the perfect term to describe my situation: bullying. The entire class's silent treatment, the teacher's willful blindness, this was my reality. Over those 7 days, I grappled with this body's residual emotions. Sometimes I couldn't distinguish whether the sadness belonged to me or the original Zoe. I wondered if the other Zoe still existed somewhere, but found no answers. My interactions with the Wilsons remained distant. Through legal research, I discovered I wasn't officially registered in their family records, merely a ward kept through blood obligation. They noticed my changed demeanor. Edward offered token praise during dinner, claiming I'd started acting civilized. To this authoritarian patriarch, my newfound passivity apparently counted as improvement. Sylvia smoothly interjected. Father, I heard Zoe's had some unpleasantness with Liam's group. Should I speak with them? Her social currency with the elite circle remained strong. Yet Edward's brow furrowed at her suggestion. My current legal guardian clearly preferred maintaining appearances. I want to move into the dorm, I announced, derailing Sylvia's manipulative play. Edward's voice sharpened. Why disrupt a perfectly good arrangement? Is our home inadequate? Of course he'd see no issues, typical of traditional authoritarians blind to systemic problems. Lowering my gaze, I countered. My academic foundation's weak. Boarding would let me focus on studies. Though Edward refused initially, I knew Aaron's influence would prevail. The golden child fresh from university already held sway in family decisions. True to prediction, Aaron arranged a single dorm room despite his confusion. We could hire tutors if grades concern you. I want this, I insisted, exploiting the novelty of making requests. The heir apparent eventually relented. No promises. Campus life proved refreshing. The petty antics of privileged teens, Liam accidentally knocking my books down or leaving insects on my desk, barely registered. Their immaturity amused more than offended. The game changed when Liam awoke from his desk nap to find a black snake flicking its tongue at him. Chaos erupted as screams filled the classroom. Amid the pandemonium, I met Liam's furious glare with serene amusement. Later, when Liam accused me before our homeroom teacher, I simply shrugged. Wasn't me. Then who? He spat. You're the only one who stayed calm. The teacher's skeptical glance bounced between us. I maintained innocent eye contact, letting the unanswered question hang. I explained calmly. I just happen to not fear snakes. Impossible. Liam's voice rose with agitation. You must have planned this to get back at me. I chuckled. Why would I want revenge? What exactly have you done to me? Liam flushed but couldn't respond. Turning to our homeroom teacher, I suggested. This is serious. Shouldn't we check the classroom surveillance footage? Surveillance cameras, modern tools I'd learned about in this era. Remarkably useful. The footage revealed no snake planter from the previous day. Instead, it showed Liam and his friends gleefully placing caterpillars on my desk during my absence. I watched stone-faced as teachers and administrators exchanged uneasy glances. Even the cockiest teenage boys have their limits shaken by the snake incident. Liam's bravado crumbled. The morning's recording solved the mystery. A sleek black serpent had slithered through the door crack before dawn, navigating multiple desks before coiling inside Liam's. The color drained from Liam's face as he realized he'd sat inches from the creature for hours. He left school pale and trembling. Later reported with fever. Several classmates mysteriously fell ill that evening too. While parents argued with school administrators about pest control measures, I returned to my dorm undisturbed. Under the desk lamp's glow, A small obsidian snake curled around my wrist, tongue flickering affectionately. I smiled, tapping its tiny head. The aftermath brought unexpected quiet. Though Liam resumed classes, the surveillance evidence of his bullying campaign witnessed by his own parents clearly rattled him. His mother, a formidable businesswoman rivaling her husband's stature, seemed particularly displeased. No apologies came for Zoe or the girl she'd once been. My midterm grades showed improvement, though not enough. While Sylvia's academic triumphs and rumored entanglement with Finn dominated campus gossip, I spent weekends exploring museums rather than returning to the Wilson estate. History exhibits stirred complex emotions, familiar names etched in time. Countless others vanished like raindrops in oceans. Walking these transformed streets, I marveled at how a century could reshape landscapes and mindsets. When requesting a STEM track switch before finals, my homeroom teacher frowned at my transcript. "Zoe, your humanities scores could secure top universities." She wasn't wrong. Despite starting in the lowest tier, I now led our class in history, political science, and English. Yet I persisted: physics, chemistry, biology. The Wilsons objected fiercely. Edward thundered, "Why abandon strengths for uncertainties? A respectable arts degree makes better marriage prospects." As if either Wilson daughter stood to inherit the family business. My pen hovered over the course selection form. Let them rage. I'd survived wars and rebirth. This educational battle mattered little in the grand scheme. The snake around my wrist stirred, sensing my resolve. We'd both learned to thrive in unexpected environments. I remained calm. I can excel in my studies. I understood why he was so angry. It wasn't about my science grades, but his hatred for anyone defying him in this household. He seemed both exasperated and amused by my defiance. At that moment, Olivia quietly interjected. Aaron showed strong aptitude for science since childhood. Perhaps Zoe. Sylvia visibly paled at these words. The Wilson family's favoritism manifested in countless ways. They, including Aaron, typically sided with Sylvia. This dynamic formed her greatest security, though blood relations remained immutable. I cared nothing for the Wilsons, deliberately ignoring their habitual displays of affection. The expensive designer clothes and jewelry in Sylvia and Aaron's rooms meant nothing to me. Even the original Zoe hadn't cared about such things. She'd been a girl starving for love, whereas I'd long outgrown such yearnings. My insistence on pursuing science bore unexpected advantages. With minimal family interference, the school arranged my transfer to advanced courses. Summer kept everyone occupied, the Wilson parents with business ventures, Aaron with corporate succession preparations, Sylvia shuttling between music lessons and Finn's company. I couldn't fathom why modern teenagers would submit to arranged marriages at 16. Perhaps they didn't view it as confinement. Locked in my room, I devoured knowledge through online resources, voraciously absorbing subjects once denied to me. Emerging bleary-eyed one afternoon, I encountered freshly returned Sylvia. Her couture outfit and flawless makeup accentuated her sneer as our eyes met. "Zoe." She halted me mid-stride. "Do you think being blood-related makes you special?" Her words echoed what the original Zoe had endured. I waited silently. "Our social circle rejects provincial nobodies like you. Have you made even one respectable friend since returning?" When I simply asked, "So what?" frustration flickered across her face. "Our kind only marries within comparable social standings," she hissed. "You'll end up with some pathetic man father dredges up." Pity colored my response. "You're barely 16. Yet you've surrendered your future to family and men. Doesn't that sadden you?" She laughed derisively. "My starting line exceeds most people's finish lines. Could your former self even imagine this life?" I didn't mention my aristocratic upbringing in another era, the servants, the luxury, the oblivious privilege before witnessing my nation's collapse under war. Our worldviews would never align. "Then I hope you never lose grip of your kite strings," I said finally. The summer immersed me in relentless studying, textbooks, modern technology, contemporary society. Though inheriting Zoe's memories, Her limited perspective required constant updating. Her regrets couldn't be undone. But I'd forge improvement for us both. My low-profile existence satisfied Sylvia while disappointing the Wilson parents. Aaron occasionally mustered token concern. School's return brought relief. I eagerly moved into campus housing. The new class treated me with initial curiosity that soon normalized. "Zoe, are you some kind of machine?" my desk mate yelped after midterm scores posted. "How'd you jump 50 points since last month?" Yes. I even had a desk mate now. My desk mate was an energetic girl who marveled at my academic dedication and rapid improvement in STEM subjects. It wasn't just her, the teachers reacted similarly. I vaguely remembered our new homeroom teacher examining my transcripts and offering well-meaning advice. There existed this stubborn stereotype that girls naturally struggled with science subjects, especially when grades told the story. Before sophomore year, my humanities scores had indeed far outpaced my STEM grades. In their eyes, I was limiting my potential. I had to admit history remained my true passion, reveling in tracing societal evolution to understand modern life. Yet I couldn't forget the regrets carried by my like-minded companions in past lives. Had our nation possessed proper mentors back then? Why would we have crossed oceans seeking knowledge? Had we mastered essential skills earlier? How could foreign powers have dared trample our soil? Prosperity demands vigilance, that's the lesson etched in our bones. My ambitions stretched beyond conventional paths. Junior year flashed by in a whirlwind. It proved exhilarating as my grades climbed into the top 10, an outcome that left many speechless. Teachers who'd previously argued for my natural advantage in humanities quietly stopped commenting. Literature department faculty eyed my language arts scores covetously. Their recruitment attempts swiftly blocked by my current STEM instructors. Even if I wanted to transfer back now, my teachers would likely stage an intervention. Though attending a private high school, not all classmates came from extreme wealth. Many were solidly middle class, making the Wilson family's fortune particularly conspicuous by comparison. Edward expressed satisfaction with my academic performance, though his goodwill evaporated when I declined attending some gala event. I knew exactly what that dinner represented, him evaluating my market value to broker advantageous marital connections. Aaron remained unmarried precisely because Edward kept appraising potential brides like livestock. My defiance angered him enough to freeze my trust fund. How absurd, a father who'd parented his daughter for less than 2 years now played authoritarian patriarch. He probably expected me to grovel for restored privileges while forbidding other Wilsons from assisting me, conveniently forgetting his long-lost daughter had never truly basked in luxury. I might cherish modern comforts, but wealth and status held no allure. For someone approaching adulthood, this era offered countless earning opportunities. The most straightforward path? Tutoring. This school overflowed with affluent families anyway. If the Wilsons wouldn't help, I'd find alternatives. Connections mattered. After all, my class president, whose family developed luxury condos, introduced me to a client offering generous rates. Their parents proved exceptionally open-handed. I gratefully accepted. Arriving at the designated mansion for my first tutoring session, I blinked at the sprawling estate dwarfing the Wilson residence. The architecture screamed nouveau riche extravagance. Maintaining composure, I entered to find Liam sprawled on the sofa like a pampered prince. He startled like he'd stepped on a rattlesnake, nearly vaulting over the couch. "Zoe, what the hell are you doing here?" I smiled serenely. "Hello, Liam. Let's reintroduce ourselves properly. I'm Zoe, your newly hired tutor." His subsequent tantrums about replacing me didn't concern my workflow. Ultimately, Liam slumped into the seat beside me with theatrical reluctance. Clearly, his rebellion had failed spectacularly. The young master, Liam Taylor, glared at me fiercely. "Don't think Mom liking you gives you free rein. Believe me, I'll have you kicked out soon." I chuckled. "Give it a shot?" He nearly combusted with rage. Liam truly had a silver tongue dipped in acid. Constantly sneering, "Didn't the Wilson family adopt you? Why are you still hustling part-time?" I ignored his barbs. focusing instead on his abysmal algebra scores, though his literature and English compositions showed faint promise. Payment received. Services rendered. That's the code I live by. My mission: transform this academic disaster into presentable material. His mother's checks cleared without fail. Senior year tuition came from my own pocket. When the Wilson patriarch, Edward Wilson, forbade family support during my sophomore summer, I became a gig economy veteran tutoring, ghostwriting, even weekend event staffing. By September, scholarship funds and shrewd budgeting kept my dorm fridge stocked. After Liam's first progress report, Mrs. Taylor's bonus hit my account before the ink dried. Word spread through their gilded circle. Soon I was managing study groups for entitled trust fund kids. Liam remained my sole VIP client, his mother's influence demanding exclusive attention. Rich kids responded not to discipline, but to social currency. When Parker from Yacht Club improved his SATs by 200 points, suddenly everyone wanted sessions. My calendar filled with forced camaraderie between future hedge funders and tech heirs. The tutoring empire crumbled when competition season hit. Gold medals in national physics and debate circuits demanded focus. My name climbed school rankings until Wilson family's adopted daughter faded beneath the blazing marquee of Zoe Wilson valedictorian, scholarship recipient, the girl who outscored every legacy admit in the state. During college application madness, rumors swirled about Sylvia Wilson jetting off to Cambridge with Finn Harris. When I mentioned this to Liam during our final SAT prep, he turned crimson, sputtering incoherently about presumptuous tutors and mind your business. Graduation brought a studio apartment and silence, until Aaron Wilson's call. "When are you coming home?" The heir's voice crackled through my burner phone. "Dad's willing to overlook everything. Choose Harvard or Yale. Major in poli, sci or finance. We'll handle the rest." I hung up smiling. My FAFSA forms listed no dependents. When Ivy League admissions offices started blowing up my phone, the Wilsons' landline apparently lit up too. Edward himself demanded I'd stop this rebellious phase and accept a proper university placement. My scholarship offers told a different story: full rides from Stanford's engineering program to MIT's applied mathematics track. The final middle finger? Declining them all for a state school's prestigious quantum computing research initiative. Last I heard, the Wilson family golf course needed 3 new putting greens after my decision went public. Before I could make a decision, the exam results were released. State valedictorian. This didn't surprise me. I'd poured relentless effort into achieving this over countless months. Every outcome now was simply the harvest of my labor. After declining offers from numerous admissions counselors, I finally chose the university I always wanted. When news reached the Wilson family, Edward erupted in fury. "Why on earth would a girl like you pick the National Defense University over decent colleges?" The Wilsons moved in business circles that held no relevance to my chosen path. Not only Edward disapproved, but my current mother Olivia also wore unfamiliar worry beneath her meticulously maintained complexion. "Zoe, this field is too grueling for women. There's no need to choose such hardship," she insisted. Aaron frowned. "What's really going through your head?" Even Sylvia appeared perplexed. I simply repeated, "I know exactly what I'm doing." My trajectory had never wavered. The university itself seemed stunned by my admission, though our entire graduating class had performed exceptionally. My tutoring clients all showed marked improvement. Liam particularly stood out, securing admission to an elite university. Rumor had it his mother planned to steer him toward politics. Who'd have thought the former troublemaker would mature so remarkably? At Liam's celebratory banquet, I noted Sylvia's absence, whether uninvited or unwilling remained unclear. The young heir looked almost respectable in his tailored suit, though discomfort radiated from him. Raising my champagne flute, I offered standard congratulations. He stared silently until I glanced down at my modest cheapao. "Something wrong?" The apology came haltingly, his neck flushing crimson. "I was wrong before. Thank you for your guidance these past years." I chuckled. Apology accepted. But save the gratitude for your mother's trust and generous payments. Professionalism required no sentimental debts. The Wilsons eventually grasped that their dynasty held no allure for me. When Edward vowed I'd come crawling back, I wondered about the source of such misplaced confidence. University life consumed me completely. 2 years transformed me into someone my former self wouldn't recognize. Holidays rarely drew me back to that mansion. It had never been home to the original Zoe. Nor would it become mine. My graduate years overflowed with joyful discoveries and meaningful connections. When Sylvia married Finn during my doctoral program, fieldwork kept me blissfully unaware until days after their ceremony. Edward's anger persisted, powerless against my independence. The wedding invitation from 30-year-old Aaron came with ample notice, his fiancée being an heiress from comparable social strata. "I'll attend if schedules permit," I non-committally replied. Memories of awakening in this era still haunted me. I held no right to forgive past wrongs done to Zoe. Nor could I embrace such archaic family values. When thesis deadlines coincided with the wedding, my advisor filed special requests. 2 plainclothes security escorts flanked me on the homecoming journey, their military bearing impossible to fully conceal beneath civilian attire. At Aaron's wedding, I spotted many familiar faces. Some were still playing the field, while others had settled down with families. When I arrived, a few didn't even recognize me. Yet whenever glances lingered between Aaron and me, whispers would erupt behind cupped hands. My features remained largely unchanged, though our sibling resemblance became more apparent now, both of us towering over most guests at 6 feet 1 inch and 5 feet 9 inches respectively. Sylvia's petite frame and dissimilar facial features fueled increasingly absurd rumors about which daughter was truly biological. Most assumed I must be Edward's love child, given how publicly Sylvia had been paraded as the golden heir. I presented wedding gifts to Aaron and his bride regardless. His gaze flickered to my 2 security details as he remarked, "Seems you wouldn't have come without my invitation." Truth was, my path had diverged sharply from the Wilsons' expectations long ago. When asked to greet Edward and Olivia, I found them flanked by the Johnsons' 3rd son. No need for matchmaking. I preempted Olivia's introduction. Anyone marrying me must undergo 3 generations of security vetting. Comfortable with that? Their spluttering protests faded as I exited. In the corridor, Sylvia and Finn's marital discord spilled over. "Does Zoe's glow-up make our situation awkward?" I heard Finn snap before their conversation died at my approach. Liam intercepted me later, his politician's poise cracking slightly. "Leaving tomorrow?" The former school bully turned congressman's son smiled ruefully. "You've become quite the ghost." His mother Olivia materialized, eyes gleaming with matchmaker's zeal. "Are Liams still available?" "Mother." Liam groaned as I deflected with social grace. The exchange dissolved into wedding chatter. By night's end, I'd fulfilled familial obligations, the security team trailing me testament to how thoroughly I'd outgrown this gilded world. I didn't look at their expressions. There was no need. As I walked away, their arguments still faintly reached my ears. After attending Aaron's wedding, I returned to campus, immersing myself in research as usual. I rarely paid attention to the outside world during my PhD years, communicating mainly with my advisor and senior lab members. Our hairlines were receding with democratic equality. The next time I heard about the Wilsons was online. A property they'd acquired had become problematic, not only massive financial losses but construction worker injuries. Rumors swirled about supernatural disturbances, with some claiming unclean entities haunted the site. Official teams had taken over, and photos circulated showing people in Taoist robes carrying compasses into an abandoned mansion. I wouldn't have cared until spotting a familiar gourd pendant in those photos. I stared so intently at my screen that my advisor startled me when he asked, "What's got you so captivated?" "Professor, I need to request leave." Aaron sounded exhausted when I called about visiting the site. "This isn't some tourist attraction, Zoe. Those online rumors exist for a reason. The cordoned property required authorized access." When I arrived, Aaron waited roadside looking haggard. "This place could collapse any second." he warned, though my eyes remained fixed on the decrepit mansion. Some unanswered question from my past demanded resolution. Inside, tactical officers with modified firearms stood alongside solemn Taoist elders. They initially tried expelling us until the lead elder studied me. The fated one arrives, he murmured cryptically. The creaking stairs groaned underfoot as I ascended. Though this wasn't my ancestral home destroyed in wartime, the dust-choked bedroom held familiarity. Murmurs of peaking energy followed me as I approached the bed's crumbling canopy. There it hung, a grime-coated gourd pendant on disintegrating crimson cords. My trembling fingers brushed it, snapping the fragile threads. Turning it under phone light revealed 3 weathered characters, Zoe Wilson. Tears fell as footsteps echoed behind me. The door slammed shut with a gust, casting elongated shadows across the room. My breath caught at the silhouette now standing there, impossibly tall, neither fully present nor absent in the gloom. I stood frozen, staring at the silhouette. "Ah, Sue. Is that you?" I took a step forward, trying to see the face clearly. But the figure retreated. "Ah, Sue." I halted. "Let me look at you, please." He stopped moving. As I approached under dim light, the scar across his throat became visible, a lethal slash mark. Fresh tears spilled over. When my gaze traveled upward, time collapsed. There he stood, the face I'd nearly forgotten from lifetimes ago. My Asu in the flesh, yet not. My trembling hand reached out, grasping nothing but cold air. Grief crashed over me like tidal waves. "How long?" my voice broke. "How many years have you been trapped here?" "Zoe, don't cry." The voice I'd last heard in another century pierced through shadows, through blurred vision. I saw his hand twitch toward me before withdrawing. We existed in separate dimensions now, forever beyond each other's touch. His features finally came into focus, still the gentle scholar's countenance I remembered, though sorrow clung to him like mist. "Tell me everything," I begged. "What happened? Why are you bound here? Why did I wake up in this era?" "I don't remember." His whisper echoed through decaying walls. He'd lingered in this house for decades, memories fading until construction crews disturbed his slumber. I only knew to wait until you came. I memorized every contour of his face, terrified he'd vanish. All those years assuming he'd found peace after the wars, built new happiness, yet we'd both perished in that firestorm of history. Our stories severed mid-chapter. "Zoe, I must go now." His form began dissolving like ink in water. Desperate, I lunged forward but caught only an ancient gourd pendant, our youth's token, now weathered beyond recognition. The shadows swallowed his last smile. The Taoist priest explained later, bound by unresolved longing and spiritual merit, Asu's willpower defied natural cycles to reunite us. Our shared golden karma threads had drawn me across centuries. His obsession held this land hostage, the old man said, gesturing at the condemned construction site. Your meeting released him. Aaron watched silently as I descended the rotting stairs that day, clutching the pendant. The Wilson family's financial crisis dissolved with the property's reopening, though my cousin would never understand what transpired in that derelict room. Now at 28, Dr. Zoe Wilson spends her days in research labs, the pendant hidden beneath her lab coat. Sometimes when test tubes clink, I fancy I hear his laughter. The thread between past and present remains severed. Yet the weight against my chest reminds me some bonds transcend lifetimes, even when their stories go unfinished. Initially, the Wilson family would contact me, claiming all parents have their children's best interests at heart. But I was never the daughter they wanted, just as they weren't the parents I needed. My material demands were modest, and my career satisfied my aspirations, though my boss often overreacted by insisting security detail accompany me everywhere. Eventually the Wilsons realized they couldn't force encounters if I refused to see them. They had no idea where I lived. The specter of arranged marriage never haunted me. For years I lived independently, hearing fragmented updates about the Wilsons. Edward Wilson gradually retired while Aaron took over the family business, though rapid technological advancements birthed fierce competitors. Even a business prodigy like Aaron couldn't stem the Wilson Empire's slow decline. Sylvia had a child. But I heard Finn Harris proved unreliable, like fermented wine that seems fine until you smell its rot. Their passionate relationship deteriorated into mutual stagnation over time. Our life goals diverged completely. Ironically, Sylvia's current luxurious existence mirrors exactly what she described to me as teenagers beneath the stairwell, still an unattainable dream for most. When my research breakthrough went public, Edward seized the chance to acknowledge me as his daughter. The Wilsons bombarded me with invitations to Edward's birthday banquet, clearly positioning Sylvia as the sacrificial pawn. He'd apparently realized during the family's crises that a scientist's daughter could be his political stepping stone. I received Sylvia's belated message brimming with resentment, "You won." Little did Edward know. My classified research projects placed me beyond any biological father's influence. I blocked him immediately, unable to stand the sight of his manipulations. When Aaron later tried reaching out with his usual condescension, I blocked both father and son. My work obsession continued until colleagues started nagging about my personal life. I simply told them science owned my heart and would claim my entire lifespan. Many remarkable men passed through my world over the years. Wonderful. All of them. Yet no spark ever reignited. The Taoist elders' words echo still, "This life is my next incarnation." Integrating Zoe's memories with my past life's consciousness took years to rebuild earthly connections. I occasionally buy flowers for my apartment, though pet ownership remains impractical given my schedule. When I eventually mentored students, their unseasoned enthusiasm reminded me of my younger self. Strict but fair, I put my protégés through rigorous training, producing exceptional young scholars. Now lecturing before blackboards, the Chinese national flag hanging above me. We collectively write this generation's story.